It's the Go Mike podcast where the mic is go, and this is a podcast. I'm your host, Mark Paul, and today we got the American Cholo. All right, so the American Cholo, he is a guy from North Hollywood, and he runs this YouTube channel called The American Cholo. Okay, so the reason why we're talking about the American Cholo, because a few weeks ago, a rapper named Tyga posted a music video for his new song called Caramba. And in the video, it pissed off a lot of Hispanic people. Like, it pissed them off to the point where, you know, they're threatening race wars and stuff like that. So after Tyga posted the video, this American Cholo guy made a big fuss about it, talking about how it's disrespectful, talking about, blacks don't disrespect Hispanics and stuff like that. But when I look at the video, I don't see disrespect. I do see some culturally clueless things inside of the video, but I don't think that he was trying to disrespect anybody while making this video. I think that Tyga was trying, I think his mindset was, I'm gonna make this, all my Hispanic homies gonna be on it. But it kind of backfired on them. The Hispanics didn't like it. We got people like American Cholo who made such a big fuss to the point where Tyga requested an interview with him. You know, Tyga wanted to talk to him. Tyga wanted to clear the air and let them know that, hey, man, I love y'all. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to pay homage. And while they were talking on the radio, Tyga said his piece. The American Cholo guy, he says his piece, and practically he just says that, you know, we got no respect for his culture, and that, you know, black people, if they're gonna do stuff like that, they need to consult with, pay a couple $1,000s to consult with some Latino to make sure is accurate. But me personally, I don't think there's anything a black person could have done that would satisfy these guys. I think even if the video was culturally accurate, they would still have a problem just because it's him making the video and not another Latino. I think they would still have a problem. But yeah, while they were talking, the guy goes around and he talks about how, you know, it's disrespectful, it's tone deaf. And I have a video of the American Cholo guy being both disrespectful and tone deaf to black people. It's kind of like the pot was calling the kettle black when he called out Tyga. This guy has a history of questionable racial slurs that he made. I guess in the past, the American Cholo guy and Tariq Nasheed kind of clashed. And in the midst of them clashing, apparently Tariq Nasheed referred to the American Cholo guy as a Mexican. Now let's get a little backstory on Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed, he is a self-proclaimed race baiter. There's too much racial things going around in the world where it's kind of easy. You really don't even have to bait it. But Tariq Nasheed, he does talk about how, you know, people from other cultures, they come and take advantage of all of the opportunities and the benefits that black people created during the Civil Rights Act, and they don't like to pay homage. And one of the things that he does talk about is the people who will come from other countries and they would subscribe to the white supremacist ideology, meaning they will start adopting some of the views that a lot of the racist white people have. So once they start adopting those views, you know, they start thinking and speaking in a way that racist white supremacists would, and in return he would either call, if they were Mexican, he would call them Mexicans, right? A Mexican is a coon is pretty much a sellout. You know, somebody that turned their back on their own culture to prop up another one, I guess. And with there being an abundance of immigrants who come into the U.S. and start adopting that white supremacist ideology, that's what we're talking about. So I'm going to pull up the video. Here it is. This is the American Cholo guy. His real name is Gil. He's from North Hollywood. I'm not sure if he is Serrano or not, but you know, he is in a Mexican gang. And in this video, we're just gonna break down him calling or referring to black people as Mexicans. Well, he's really referring, let me not do that. He's really referring to Tariq Nasheed as a Mexican. I mean, as a ghetto. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me roll back. So the American Cholo on this video, he is going to be referring to Tariq Nasheed as a ghetto coon, and he is gonna break down why he referred to Tariq Nasheed as a ghetto coon. So let's just get into the video and let's break this down little by little.
And why do I call you a ghetto coon? Well, let me explain to you, carnal. See, a coon, for people who don't know, is a derogatory word that people use towards black people who they say act white. And that's just...
All right, now we're going to stop there. You hear what he say? You hear what he say? The guy is running around talking about how people are tone deaf to our culture. People are this and that. He literally justify him talking about coons by saying that's basically a derogatory. He acknowledged that the term is derogatory towards black people. So he acknowledges that. And he say basically it's a derogatory term for black people who acts white. And one of my question is, what the hell is acting white? What is acting white? That's one thing. And to really clear up the coon definition, a coon is not a person that acts white. And that's not who we call coons. Black people do not call coons the people who quote unquote act white, whatever that means. Black people call coons are the people that basically turn their back on the black community and start shitting on and start talking all types of crazy nonsense, that of a white supremacist. So they will adopt the ideology of white supremacy and really just undermine black people with pretty much everything they do. And try to make it seem like black people are crazy for thinking the things that they think when they see racial activity. See, that's a coon. I don't know what this guy really thought by saying that it's basically a black person that acts white. No, that's an Oreo. That's an Oreo. A black person that acts white is an Oreo. It's not a coon. I believe Hispanics have a term for Hispanics who act white, which is a coconut. So that's parallel. A Oreo and a coon are two different things. But let's continue.
People say when somebody disagrees with them and they're of the same color like black. Well, the reason I call it Tariq,
and he says people say it when they disagree, and that is totally false. See, he's being tone deaf right now. He's trying to give a history lesson. He's trying to give a lesson, period, on black culture, and he don't even know what the hell he talking about. He's starting off wrong. And you gotta think, he got a lot of people listening to him. There's a lot of people who's watching him and who thinks that what he say is true. And we're not even 30 seconds in the video and he's already lying. But let's go.
ghetto coon, because that's exactly what he is, man. He's a black man portraying himself to be this Mr. Gangster, this Mr. Black Power, this Mr. F every other race. He hates white supremacy. He calls Latinos Mexicans. He calls us white Hispanics. He calls us all kinds of derogatory.
All right, so I'm going to break some of that down. Okay, so if he called you a Mexican or a white Hispanic, it's because of what I said earlier, that you guys came over here and adopted that white supremacist ideology, and you are really just spewing that out. Okay, now, Tariq Nasheed, ever since I've known about Tariq Nasheed, I never thought that he was some gangster. I never thought he was a thug. I never thought anything like that. So Tariq Nasheed does not portray himself as a gangster, but Tariq Nasheed portrays himself as a pro-black figure that is really on the hunt to get black people reparations, and that's really what he do. Tariq Nasheed is not a sellout in the black people eyes. So I don't know why this guy is trying to create this whole narrative as if Tariq Nasheed is undermining black people to prop up another race, which that's what a coon would do. But let's go.
And says all kind of stereotypes and tries to make them seem as they're true. All the while, this chump lives in one of the whitest cities in the San Fernando Valley, Chatsworth, California. 2% African American.
2% African American. So that is not a white city. I hate when people say that. People say, "Oh, this is a white neighborhood." If you got one black person or one Asian person or one Hispanic person living in a predominantly white neighborhood, it's not a white neighborhood. It's not. You can't call it that because there's black people, there's Asian, there's white, there's Hispanic people living there. So that's false. But let's go.
But he's over here talking like he's in South Central Compton or Watts with the brothers putting in that work. So first of all,
you see how he does this slick with the brothers. That's a slight towards us. And then using that fist is sacred to black people. That fist represents black power. That fist represents the struggle and the fights that we continue to have for our freedom. And for him to mockingly say the brothers is totally disrespectful to black people. But let's go.
Use a chump for that, and that's why you're a ghetto coon, carnal. Now let's go forward. I heard about this guy a few times in my life, people asking me. I never really paid any attention. Sonny sends me a link a few days ago, and he tells me, start watching it from this mark. And he started talking about me, which is fine. People do all kind of stuff like that. But then he started going into the Latinos. He starts mocking Latinos. He starts making fun of our accents. He starts saying that all Latinos can't fight. He starts saying just that we, as Latinos...
All right, so the part where he says all Latinos can't fight, I think I remember when Tariq Nasheed was talking about this, and he was referring to how Mexicans in LA do not give black people fair fights. Like they will not give us a one-on-one. They will jump us. They will pull out weapons. They will not give us a one-on-one. So that's what I believe he was talking about. But, you know, like he said, Sonny told him to listen to it from this point. He possibly missed the whole context of what he was saying. Interesting, right? But let's continue.
Knows owe everything we have in the United States to the black man because of civil rights. Well, let's first get off into the...
That is correct, because you guys are benefiting from the direct things that black people fought for in this country for years. Black people fought for all of the things that they say is for black people. Actually, other minority groups can include themselves into it. Like affirmative action, for an example. Affirmative action has the shell of, oh, it's for black people. It's for black people. But no, when you break down who actually benefits from affirmative action, there's a lot of Hispanics. And guess what? A lot of white women benefits from affirmative action as well. White women are a minority group, if you did not understand that before. So affirmative action and a whole bunch of other stuff like daca and all this other stuff, black people went to war with white people for it. We fought for it, and you guys are benefiting from it. So when he says that, he may not say it in a correct way or in a sympathized way, but he's correct by saying that, because those are all of the programs that we as black people fought for, and those same programs, you guys are coming from other countries, not just Mexicans, people from other countries, Africa, everywhere, and they are benefiting from those programs that we fought for. So yes, he's correct by saying that, but let's go.
Type that you're saying. You're saying all Latinos can't fight, and the street Latinos only pick on young little black kids who have, I think you were saying, have mental issues. Well, obviously, homie, you ain't from the streets, and you've never been from the streets if that's what you think, man.
And again, I've never known Tariq Nasheed to consider himself being from the streets. He don't even carry himself like a street guy. He carries himself like an educated, confident black guy, not like a street guy. I've never got gangster, killer, gangbanger. I never got that from Tariq Nasheed. But let's go.
If that's the case, I guess all blacks are lazy. I guess all blacks don't pay their rent. I guess all blacks have bad credit, right?
Okay, now let's rewind this back just a little bit, because it did flicker a little bit. But let's go.
Kids who have, I think you were saying, have mental issues. Well, obviously, homie, you ain't from the streets, and you've never been from the streets if that's what you think, man. If that's the case, I guess all blacks are lazy. I guess all blacks don't pay their rent. I guess all blacks have bad credit, right?
You see how he's hurling all of these negative black stereotypes. Just remember, I don't know if he lost his train of thought, but he was talking about when Tariq Nasheed says that Mexicans only pick on young black dudes or black dudes with special needs. He goes on and say, if that's the case, then all blacks are lazy, all blacks don't pay their rent. And for me, it's like, what did that have to do with Hispanics picking on people that basically can't defend themselves? What does that have to do with that? Like, he's just projecting. He is again being insensitive and tone deaf to black people, because he know that's a known stereotype, a negative stereotype, a false stereotype about black people, that all black people got bad credit, black people can't pay their rent. How are those two things parallel, American Cholo? How is saying that Latinos target black people that can't defend themselves parallel to black people not paying their rent, having bad credit, so on and so forth? You're projecting, my dude, but let's go.
No, wrong, homie. But the sad part is you keep pushing that stupid ass agenda of yours because you're a fucking buffoon. Then you go on into talking about we as Latinos owe you all this and that because of civil rights. I want you guys to take a look at the picture real quick. This picture is from
Okay, so this is a picture from Latin America in 1800. So he's about to give a history lesson. So let's just let him give his history lesson. What am I talking about?
America in the 1800s. You got from Mexico all the way down, brother, South America. And what do you see? You see places that have been taken over by the British colonies, the Dutch colonies, French colonies, Portuguese colonies, Spanish colonies. In other words, by who we call now white supremacists, conquistadors.
So basically, most of Latin America got gaffled up by all other people around the world, and y'all pretty much couldn't do nothing about it. Just let them take your land, but let's go.
This is the 1800s. Let's fast forward 30 years. What do you see? I see a bunch of countries that became independent. We started our war for independence against the white slave masters, conquistadors, whatever you want to call them, in the 1800s, brother. By 1830, they were gone. We took our land back, carnal. You were still in fucking chains. But you're...
All right, so he said that they took their land back while we were still in chains. Think about that. Why would he connect that like that? Is he saying something specifically to Tariq Nasheed? Is he slighting black people again? I think he's slighting black people again. I think he's trying to use Tariq Nasheed so that he can hurl all of the racial slurs that he already think about black people. And he's just trying to use Tariq Nasheed as a cover so that he can just get all of that off. But let's go.
In here and try to tell me that we owe you something? We were breaking ground on freedom before any of you guys even had a dream. But yet we...
Now you see how he slighted Dr. Martin Luther King. He said we were doing all of this stuff before you ever had a dream. What is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean? How are you going on Power 106 telling Tyga that what he's doing is disrespectful and tone deaf, and look at the things that you let come out of your mouth? Look at the things that you let come out of your mouth. That's why when I was watching the No Jumper interview with American Cholo, AD Duno, and a guy named Bozo, I'm just sitting up listening like, is AD gonna ever challenge this guy? Is AD gonna ever bring up any of the things that he did that slighted black people? And he didn't. Only thing he did address one thing. AD addressed one thing. He did address the part where he told American Cholo that in any context, you can never say nigger. In any context. But that's about it. And there's a whole slew of different things that the American Cholo guy has said against black people. And AD just wasn't a good representative for black people in that interview. AD is more like a peacemaker. AD is hella connected in LA, apparently, from what I gather. AD is connected to pretty much anybody. So if there's a problem at No Jumper, guess who they calling? AD. You know, to diffuse the situation. And I just wish that AD from No Jumper, I just wish AD was a little more knowledgeable and a little bit more, how can I say, I'm gonna just say knowledgeable on black issues. Like, he did not represent black people at No Jumper. He represented gang culture. He did not represent black people. If I was AD, before I sat down and talked with the guy, I would have did my research on him, and I would have, kind of figured out a lot of things about him, and to try to challenge. I'm not saying that they should have been up there arguing and fighting, and but I do believe that the American Cholo guy should have been challenged a little more on his ideology, because he has the ideology that of a racist white person. And I just wish AD from No Jumper was a little bit more mindful on black culture and how to approach a guy like that. But all of this is beside the point, and let's continue.
We don't owe you shit, man. The only thing I owe another man is common courtesy and respect, and you lost that from me. The minute you...
Common courtesy, and he said it. He said the only thing he owes any man is common courtesy and respect. And we are 3 minutes and 35 seconds inside of this video, and he disrespect black people multiple times. And I'm not even sure he knows that he's doing it. But he want to get on Tyga about it. And one other thing, Mexican people always talking about how the U.S. came and stole land from them, but they never talk about the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, where the U.S. paid $15 million for the land that used to be Mexico, but is now the U.S. So a lot of Mexican people like to talk about how, the white man came and stole our land. No, that's another false fallacy. That is not true at all. The white people came trying to punk you guys for your land. Y'all stood y'all ground and fought with them. Y'all fought with them tooth and nail. But the fight became too much for you guys. And you guys couldn't handle it. So to end the war, a treaty was signed. And $15 million was transferred to Mexico for that land. I'm not saying that is a fair amount, but you guys took it. You guys took the $15,000. So the racist white people didn't steal nothing for y'all. You guys sold it at a low rate. And you guys can't use that to try to compare you guys' struggle with the white people, with black slavery, the black slavery struggles with the white people. But let's go.
Talking all kind of vile stuff against Latinos, against Mexicans, against anybody who has heritage of brown. Why? Because you're a ghetto coon, homie.
And another thing, I just want to clarify this. Tariq Nasheed does not speak against Hispanic people as a whole. I'm going to just clarify this. He speaks against Hispanic people who come over and adopt this white supremacist ideology. He speaks about the African people who migrate over here and adopt that same white supremacist ideology. So if you come from another place and you start thinking about like the oppressor, that's who he speaks against. It's not like he's speaking against all Latinos, but I'm sure this guy knows that, and he just wants to really be disingenuous about it and try to make it seem like, I'm victim. Oh, they're coming after me. But it's not even true. But let's go.
Little coon that just sits there and tries to push this negative stuff so you can get your views. So these brothers believe that, this man's about it. You ain't about it, brother. You don't even know the history, brother. Before you guys even thought about civil rights, we were out there fighting the white man that you're talking about. We got countries, brother. We got Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Panama. Keep going on the list. Costa Rica, Brazil. We've got countries. What you got, Playboy?
Okay, so he talking about how, we got all of these countries. All of these countries, we got this, we got that. What you got, Playboy? You ain't even got Africa. You can't even get dual citizenship in Africa, right? Another slight to black people. Another one. A whole nother one. But let's rewind it just a little bit.
We got countries, brother. We got Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Panama. Keep going on the list. Costa Rica, Brazil. We've got countries. What you got, Playboy?
And you see how he lists all of those different countries. My biggest question is, if you guys got all of those countries, why the fuck you coming over here? If you got all of those countries, if y'all got all of this land, we got this, we got that, and black people got nothing, why are you coming over here? That's my biggest question. If you go brag about something that's worth bragging about. Talk about how you running from your people because you're unsuccessful in your own town. You're unsuccessful in your own country. Your own people in your own country is running you out. Explain that. Explain why you guys are over here with us if you got all of that. But let's go.
What you got? All you got is a big mouth with no facts, homie. You sit there and say, hold your own nuts. Hold your own nuts, American Cholo. All right. How about you? When I look at the TV and I see those BLM protests, what do I see? I see a bunch of white people, homie. I see some raza in there. Maybe out of Kentucky and certain areas of that, tall brothers. But the majority, nah. You should tell those white people, hey, go home. We're going to hold our own nuts. But you won't because you're a chump, homie. All you do is talk out of the side of your neck just for the views, carnal. We in this country have been fighting for equality just as long, if not longer, than the African Americans. When you guys...
But the only thing, he'd say how we are been fighting for equality, just like the African Americans, and I don't think that they had black fountain, white fountains, and brown fountains. It was either black or white fountains. So I don't understand where you get that. They didn't have the black restroom, the white restroom, and the brown restroom. So what are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about, American Chola? What are you talking about? You just running your mouth trying to say anything you can out the side of your neck so you can disrespect black people on the slide and try to use Tariq Nasheed as a shell for it. And that ain't cool, bruh. That ain't cool, carnal. That's not cool. But let's go.
Slaves, you guys would run to Latin countries, brother. But now you act...
He say when we were slaves, we would run to Latin countries. Understand, American Chola. Black people were in your country before. Been in your country before. So for you to say that lets us know how much of history you really know. All black people didn't come to the U.S. from the slave trade. There were black people already here. Let's get that clear. So a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think all of the black people came when the slave ships came. But nah, we were here before the slave ships, just like we were in those Latin countries as well. But let's go.
The only reason those Latin countries are where they're at is because of you guys. And I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying people like you, man. Ignorant people like you. You say there's no brown and black.
I think when American Cholo calls Tariq Nasheed ignorant, it's the pot calling the kettle black. Because this dude is just as, or if he's more ignorant because he's not even breaking up any historical facts. At least when Tariq Nasheed talk about stuff, he'll say back in 19 or back in 18 such and such, this happened, that's why this is going on. That's not what this dude is doing. He's just literally just ranting and spilling racial negativity, and that's all he's doing. But let's go.
Coalition, and there never will be because we're just backstabbing white people? Nah, brother. If there's no brown and black coalition, it's because of people like you. People like you, why? Because there's money in division. There's money in calling yourself the black supremacist or whatever you want to call yourself. But
Tariq Nasheed has never called himself a black supremacist. More lies. It's like, why did he have to lie on Tariq Nasheed just to have something on him? Why can't you just speak all facts? Tariq Nasheed never called himself a black supremacist because ain't no such thing. There's no such thing. But let's go.
you're just a ghetto coon, brother. You're just a ghetto coon that just spills nothing but vile, venom, garbage out of your mouth. You talk a good one, but you live in the whitest neighborhood in California. If you're all about that, brother, go live in the hood, brother.
And you see how he keeps using the fist. He keep using the fist. Every time he used the fist and mocks Tariq Nasheed, he is disrespecting all black people. You can't use this fist however way you want, bruh. This fist is sacred to our fight. This fist is sacred to the progress that our ancestors made, that allowed the programs that you guys are benefit for today. But let's go.
But you won't live amongst your black people that you say you love, and you live.
And another thing, black people in the ghetto or the hood is not synonymous. Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to live in some of the worst neighborhoods in society. That doesn't mean that. And that's another slight to black people, and that's another thing that is not cool to say. It's not cool to say. Just because you are black don't mean you have to be in the inner city with all of the other black people, which mostly is the poor areas. So if you get a little money, you want a certain type of house, you can't get that house in the black community. So if you want a certain type of house, you're going to have to go out into the areas where they have those types of houses. I think he's just jealous of Tariq Nasheed, because I believe Tariq Nasheed probably lives in a neighborhood with a lot of celebrities and a lot of affluent people, you know, and he's just jealous. He just want him in the slums with him, perhaps. But let's go.
Hey, and you want better from them. It's funny how that works, right? A lot of the ghetto coons do that. They talk a good one. They say, oh, this is for my people. Oh, I hate the white people. Oh, don't live like that.
And this is how you know he doesn't know anything about Tariq Nasheed. Go back and look at what Tariq Nasheed has done. He ain't just talking. He's talking for a reason. And that's one thing I don't like. That he's really not actually giving Tariq Nasheed a fair shake in this video, because Tariq Nasheed does a lot for the black community. He don't just go on YouTube and he's not primarily a YouTuber. Like, Tariq Nasheed has been known for years, and I'm surprised he's giving you some attention. But let's go.
Yet you're living the white man's world. You can get up and go anytime.
That's everywhere. The white man's world is everywhere. It's not just the neighborhood that he lives in, which he says is 2% black. Well, at least Tariq Nasheed is among those 2%. You know? But let's go.
You can go live in a black neighborhood, but you won't, because you're the ghetto coon, homie. You talk a good one just for the views. We've been fighting since the 1800s, brother. Like I said, you guys were enslaved. You guys didn't break those chains until 1865, and even then you're still slaves. Even now, you're still slaves to the system, brother. And you keep thinking the way you are, you're going to continue to be slaves to the system, brother. You know, some people might say, you know, Gil, why even make this video? Why put it out there? I'll tell you why.
I'll tell you why before he tell you why. Because it gives him the opportunity to spill all of the racial negativity that he has had bottled up in him. And he can just put it all on Tariq Nasheed. Just by looking at this video about Tariq Nasheed, you can kind of understand where he stands ideologically about black people. You know, just by the stuff he's saying about Tariq Nasheed in this video. But let's go.
Because I got a platform. I got a voice. We, as Raza, have a voice. May not be the biggest voice yet, but it will be. But I will sit there and shout down any buffoon like this guy, especially after I left a couple comments on his page. You know what he did? He deleted me. I don't know if he blocked me, but he deleted me. Sonny told me I left a couple comments. I went back. They're gone, brother. And I know they were there because I saw him post. So this is the kind of chump that will sit there and act tough, be this big, tough guy, man. The BBG is what he's got. He's the big black guy. He's got the big black guy syndrome, homeboy.
You hear that? BBG. He has an acronym for it. BBG. This is the first time I'm ever hearing this acronym, BBG. BBG is the big black guy syndrome. What does that mean, American Cholo? What does that mean? And this is my point. What is that? But you want to rally up all of this nonsense about Tyga. You want to rally up all of this nonsense about Tyga and how he's being insensitive to the Latino culture, and you just sitting up just saying anything, bruh. You don't have the room to tell Tyga that what he's doing is insensitive, tone deaf, and disrespectful, and you out here making videos like this that is insensitive, tone deaf, and disrespectful to black people. This dude is the walking pot calling the kettle black. Like, literally. I don't understand it. It's wrong, and I don't think no jumper should have gave y'all an easy pass like they did. But I will digress. It's the Gold Mike Podcast, where the mic is gold, and it's a podcast. I'm your host, Mark Paul, and I'm out. Punk motherfucker. How dare you? How dare you?